What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of my 2019 F1 modded career mode. Back today for episode number 11 at the German Grand Prix here at the Hockenheim Ring. And if you guys are still enjoying this series, do make sure to leave a like down below. It was a pretty interesting British Grand Prix. I uploaded that one on Monday, so if you haven't checked it out, then do make sure to do so. But yeah, we started in 15th. And managed to finish all the way up in P4. So that was an impressive one. And today we have got two big upgrades at the German Grand Prix. Both of them are major upgrades. Unfortunately, we did have another major upgrade fail. But that would have just been scary, having three big upgrades on the car. So, you know, we've got to pace ourselves a little bit. But yeah, engine and aerodynamics upgrades are what we've got. It was the chassis upgrade that failed. But our chassis is feeling pretty good anyway, so not too much of a loss. In terms of future upgrades, we've, you know, got that chassis upgrade back in the workshop, and it will be with us next time in Hungary. And we've also gone for another powertrain upgrade, which should be with us for Spa. Obviously a very power dependent track. Now in terms of the performance chart, those two major upgrades have really fired us up to around about the Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes region. We're not quite there yet, but we've taken a big leap towards them. Haas, McLaren and Racing Point all fighting it out for P5, but they are a long way behind us now. So for Mercedes' home race, it was a 1-2 for their drivers in qualifying. Hamilton outdoing his Finnish teammate Valtteri Bottas for another pole position. Then on row 2, we've got Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. Leclerc getting the better of Vettel for the second consecutive race. Then we've got ourselves in P5. We outqualified the Red Bull of Gasly. And Ricciardo is just in behind in P7 as well. So yeah, this car, this Renault, is feeling rapid this weekend. Then we've got Stroll and Sainz rounding out the top 10 with the two Haas cars in 11th and 12th. And the one glaring omission from the top 10 is Max Verstappen, who's had to take a 10-place grid penalty. I'm not quite sure why it is. Could be gearbox. I think that's a 10-place penalty, isn't it? But either way, he's going to be a long way down, which means hopefully we'll be able to outdo at least one of the Red Bulls this afternoon. So starting in P5 means that we are starting on the same set of tyres that we qualified on, and that is the Ultra Soft tyre, which by the looks of it is going to wear out in no time. We're scheduled to come in as early as lap 5, and seeing as this is a 34-lap Grand Prix, that is quite early. But yeah, we're going to go for two sets of the soft tyres to end off the Grand Prix. About, what will it be, 14 laps each on each tyre? 14 or 15 laps. So yeah, hopefully we can go for that two-stopper and make it work. Here we go then for the formation lap, and the eagle-eyed amongst you will be able to notice that we are running a different livery for this race. We've upgraded it from the old one. It was on the Williams chassis before. We've now managed to get it so it's on the Renault chassis, and I just think it looks really nice. So I thought switch it up. We're halfway through the season now. Go for a different livery. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, whether you like the livery or not. But yeah, without further ado, let's line up on the grid, ready for the start of this German Grand Prix. Starting in P5, can we stay there this afternoon as we now go to the 5 red lights, staring above at them, and away we go here at Hockenheim. It's a reasonable start from ourselves, although Pierre Gasly alongside us has got a very good start. He's going to get ahead of us into turn 1. Are we going to be able to go side by side with him? And as we go towards turn 2 now, Sergio Perez is also going to get in on the action. It's 3 wide going into turn 2 as Perez gets squeezed out by Gasly. But the Racing Point man manages to get ahead of the Red Bull driver. But we get ahead of both of them and hold our P5 just about. It was difficult to do it as we got Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel going at it just up ahead. Who's going to prevail in that one as we close up to the two of them? But it looks as if Vettel has got ahead of his younger teammate on lap 1 of this Grand Prix. As we can see the Mercedes streaking off into the distance, but we're now settling into P5 and trying just to stay on the tails of these Ferrari cars up ahead. So we're going nice and easy on lap 1 of this Grand Prix. We don't want to be too raucous and you know, go for a move which could dent our hopes of good points in this race. We go a little bit wide there through the turn 11 and now into the final sector to the Sachs curve, where Sebastian Vettel famously crashed in the real-life 2018 Grand Prix, but he doesn't do so on lap 1 of this fantasy career mode. But as we come through the final corner now, at the end of lap 1, we hold position as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but we're going to take a look at exactly what happened right at the front with the likes of Lewis Hamilton. And there you can see they go to 5 red lights as we were sort of concentrating a little bit further back. But what a start it was from Lewis Hamilton. A clean getaway. And just look at what a gap he already put between himself and his teammate after one corner. He must have been a second ahead as they went into turn 2. But then the big battle was between the 2 Ferrari cars. So Vettel getting ahead of Leclerc in turn 2. And then you can see Leclerc trying to close the gap on the German driver, of course, Vettel, at his home Grand Prix as they go up to the hairpin at turn 6. Leclerc had the inside line, but he just wasn't quite aggressive enough. Maybe if it wasn't his teammate, he might have gone for it a little bit more, as they were actually side by side as they were on the run towards turn 7. But Leclerc bailed out. He knows that he's got a full race ahead of him. So, yeah, no risks needed as of yet. But anyway, we go on to lap 3 now, and you can see it came up in the bottom corner for a strategy change. So it's wanting us... our engineer, Jeff, is wanting us to come in at the end of this lap. So 2 laps earlier, we've done 3 laps in this Grand Prix, but the tyres, they're just not feeling good. And we are in a bit of no man's land at the moment. I don't know whether you saw there, but Leclerc is 2 seconds ahead. And our teammate, Ricciardo, is the next man behind. He's 1.4 seconds behind us. And just look at that tyre wear. We're almost at 50% on the rear left. So... yeah, this track is just eating our ultra soft tyres for breakfast. So yeah, we come into the pit lane, not really got anything to lose. You know, we're going to be a couple of laps earlier, of course, than our compatriots. But hopefully we can fit these set of soft tyres, and I have confidence that we can do 15 or 16 laps on a set of these. We've got a little bit of clear air in front of us now, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it should do us a bit of good. So we'll have a look to see exactly how far ahead Robert Kubica and George Russell are. They're the next 2 cars up ahead, but we emerge in 20th position, and they are 6 seconds up the road. So in a couple of laps, we shouldn't close that, but we will have a little bit of clear road. But I say that. Just a couple of laps later, at the start of lap 6, we have closed up to the back of the 2 Williams cars. Lance Stroll comes into the pit lane on lap 5, but nobody else seems to have come in. So maybe the other driver's going a little bit longer into this Grand Prix. But that's not a problem, because we're feeling good on these tyres at the moment. We do run a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 4 as now we come through the Parabolica. And the 2 Williams guys are fighting up ahead, Kubica and Russell. That is exactly what we want, because that means we should be able to close the gap. We had DRS as well on that straight, but couldn't really take advantage of it too much due to the straight line speed of those Williams cars. But hopefully we'll be able to get onto the back of them and overtake them in the next lap or so. We don't really want to be getting held up behind the likes of the Williams cars, because you know, when we get into this final sector, course, tight, twisty, very few overtaking opportunities, and as you can see, we're right on the back of Robert Kubica now. As we come through turn 11, we gained so much on him there, and this is exactly what we don't want, but we dive down the inside of Kubica at the Sachs curve, and it doesn't manage to come off, so we're really starting to lose a bit of time behind the Williams cars now, as we see a few more cars in the pit lane at the end of lap 6. We are right on the tail of Kubica now, so we will have DRS to use at the start of lap 7 as we swing through turn 1. Who's that coming out of the pit lane? That's Valtteri Bottas, the man that was sat in P2 at the start of this Grand Prix. As we go down the inside of Kubica, and now we're going to be running side by side with the Mercedes man through this first complex of corners, and we should have DRS on him here, and yes we do, but he also has DRS on George Russell up ahead, but no matter, because these engine upgrades that we've got have given us super speed in a straight line. We're going to go down the inside on Valtteri Bottas into the hairpin at turn 7, and we make the move. That corner, that hairpin, has produced so many overtakes over the years that this circuit has been on the F1 calendar, and we have just added another one to the collection on Valtteri Bottas. That feels good, but we've now got George Russell up ahead, so we're going to have to try and dispatch of him pretty quickly, or else Bottas is going to be right on our tail. It would be nice to put a George Russell between ourselves and Valtteri Bottas, just for a bit of comfort. But we're going to have to sit behind him in this final sector as we head towards the final corner at the Südkurve. And Russell, is he going to... No, he's not. He's going to stay out for this lap. Of course, he's on the soft tyre, so he's going to be running later into this Grand Prix, so no danger of him pitting anytime soon. But now we swing through turn 1 once again, and we gain a lot of time on that Williams, which is nowhere near as developed aerodynamically as this Renault car. And we sweep down the inside, and we are up into P12 on lap 8 of this Grand Prix. And it's very difficult to see sort of who is where at this stage of the Grand Prix. There's so many cars that have pitted, so many that haven't pitted. It's a little bit confusing. But anyway, we're riding on board with Valtteri Bottas, and he doesn't manage to get past George Russell at the hairpin. So we've got our teammate, Daniel Ricciardo, only a couple of seconds back from ourselves. He is ahead of Pierre Gasly, just showing that this Renault car it's actually quick, which I don't know why I'm surprised at, because we've made so many upgrades. But, you know, to actually have gone from the 4th quickest team to... You know, we're still the 4th quickest team, but we're very much challenging it with the Red Bulls. And you can see that Gasly, he's not all over the gearbox of Daniel Ricciardo. He's obviously close, but then Ricciardo is close to the car ahead. And Ricciardo is very much ahead of Gasly on merit at this stage. But anyway, we're now on lap 9 of the Grand Prix, and we're just going to take a look at the order. So ahead of ourselves, we've got Daniel Kvyat and Antonio Giovinazzi. Then it is Charles Leclerc. So there's a couple of cars between ourselves and Leclerc. Then it's Alexander Albon sat ahead of him, who is yet to pit in at this Grand Prix. Then we have got Sebastian Vettel, who is up behind Lando Norris, I believe that is. So he's going to go for a move now into turn 1. Is Vettel going to get ahead of him? Yes, he is. A lovely move into turn 1. So Vettel carving through the field. I believe Sebastian is in a net P2, and that is the man who is in the net lead of this Grand Prix. It is Lewis Hamilton, who just about jostles past Kimi Raikkonen and up into P2. And, well, so we've got Hamilton, Vettel, Leclerc, ourselves, all on 2-stop strategies. Then you've got these drivers ahead of Lewis Hamilton, Magnussen, Sainz and Grosjean, who are all on 1-stop strategies. So I say that, you know, Hamilton's in the net lead of this Grand Prix. He still has to overtake these cars before the end of the race if he wants to win this Grand Prix. You'd obviously imagine that with tyre degradation, you know, those cars are going to sort of ease off later on in the Grand Prix, but you never know. Anyway, back on board with ourselves at the start of lap 10. We're going to go down the inside of Daniel Kvyat into turn 2. And, you know, it's very much the same for us. We've got to overtake all these cars if we want to finish ahead of them at the end of the Grand Prix. We've got a bit of a tank slapper there on the exit of turn 4. But as we travel through the Parabolica, we have enough speed to stay ahead of Daniel Kvyat. And we close up to Antonio Giovinazzi, who is in the very last of the points-paying positions. I'd like to think that we'll get ahead of him before too long. But we're going to have to sit behind him for the meantime. And unfortunately, as we run it down to turn 8 now, we just don't really seem to be able to get close enough between the hairpin and that turn 8 at the Mercedes grandstand. In past games, I've managed to sort of be able to close up on the AI there, but this is a real region where we close up through turn 11, really showing the aerodynamic power of this Renault car. We just go down the inside of Giovinazzi like it's nobody's business. Lovely move up into P10. Didn't expect it to happen that quickly. And now there is no cars between ourselves and Charles Leclerc, although I believe he is right behind Alexander Albon, so that might not be the case for too long. And sure enough, as we get towards the end of lap 11, he did manage to get ahead of Albon, meaning that at the start of lap 12, we've got to get past the Thai Toro Rosso driver. And now we're going to go to the inside, but Albon blocks us off there. That could have ended disastrously. But very feisty from the young Toro Rosso man, who finished runner-up in at the 2018 F2 series. But we managed to get past him in at the end. It was a good attempt at a defence from Albon, who was very aggressive. You can see we actually got a warning for a collision with him, meaning that he battled us very hard. But we do get past him in at the end. And now we've got Kimi Raikkonen and Lando Norris ahead of us, I believe that is. And getting ahead of both of them then was Charles Leclerc. So we're just trying to stay, you know, as close to Leclerc as possible. But he just seems to be one step ahead of us at all times. But still, you know, that Ferrari car is arguably the fastest on the grid. And we're staying within a couple of seconds of him. And yeah, he has gone a little bit further up the road as we've now got Norris and Raikkonen battling with each other. So Raikkonen gets ahead of the McLaren driver and up into to P7. Now we've got a dispatch of both of them if we want to get anywhere near to Charles Leclerc. We're only on lap 13 of this Grand Prix, can you believe? It's been a brilliant one so far. But now we're going to get diving down the inside of Norris, similar to the move that we made on Giovinazzi just a couple of laps ago. And we do manage to get ahead of our fellow Brit in at the McLaren and up in to P8. So next up is Kimi Raikkonen. Hopefully we'll be able to give him a go at the start of lap 14. But that Sauber car, of course, powered by the Ferrari power unit, meaning it's on a pretty similar level to our Renault power unit now. But as we got a brilliant run through turn 1, this aerodynamics upgrade seems to be doing us really nicely through the fast corners. And we're now almost side by side with Raikkonen. Hopefully the DRS will be able to take us past him as we go through the Parabolica. Yes, indeed it does. So up in to P7, we are carving through this field as Norris also manages to get ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. There are overtakes left, right and centre. I dread to think how many there have been throughout the course of this Grand Prix. Of course, I can't keep up with them all. I'm concentrating mainly on my own action this race just because there's so much of it. But away from my action, we now go to the battle for the lead on lap 14 of this Grand Prix. So it's currently Carlos Sainz leading the German Grand Prix, yet to pit. And then we've got the two drivers that have pitted in this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton leading Sebastian Vettel, and the British driver, the 5-time world champion, looking to get past Sainz, and this is going to be an easy move by the looks of it. The worn soft tyres of Sainz are no match for the fresher soft tyres of Lewis Hamilton. And now we've got Sebastian Vettel trying for a move on Carlos Sainz. They're going to be side by side as they run through turn 7 and towards the Mercedes grandstand, but he does manage to get ahead at his home race. Sebastian Vettel up into P2, although he has lost a bit of ground to Lewis Hamilton over the course of those few corners, but I'm sure that he'll be right back on the tail of the British driver before too long. So yeah, we're not even at half race distance yet, and we've had all this action so far. So yeah, we've got a couple of cars between them lot and Charles Leclerc, who is the man that you'd say at the moment is most likely to take P3 in the Grand Prix. But we fast forward to lap 15 now, and starting to get towards the pit window for the one-stoppers. And Kevin Magnussen, as he comes through the final corner, does decide to peel in to the pit lane. So he's going to do the final 19 laps of this German Grand Prix on a set of medium tyres. Carlos Sainz also in the pit lane, which releases us up in to P5. I believe we've got Romain Grosjean. Yes, there we go. He just appeared on the screen. So he's battling with Charles Leclerc, is Grosjean. And he is the only man ahead of us who is yet to pit, which you'd like to think we are on course for P4 in this Grand Prix. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in case the Haas cars do manage to emerge with some good pace in the second half of the Grand Prix, but it's looking good for at least a good points finish for ourselves. So Grosjean peels into the pit lane and we go up into P4 on lap 17. And as we go on to lap 17, you can see that that is our new race leader, Sebastian Vettel, who is ahead of Lewis Hamilton. But Hamilton is now trying to fight back. They've been hammering Tong for the past few laps. And, well, we've seen Vettel close that gap to Lewis Hamilton and get ahead of him. But Hamilton trying to fight back as we reach half race distance. Is he going to be able to get ahead? No, he's going to have to stick behind at the Mercedes grandstand. And we're now reaching the pit window for our second pit stop. And sure enough, on lap 18, we decide to peel in to the pit lane. We're the first to blink of the front runners. I don't believe any of the three cars ahead of us have come into the pit lane yet. So this is our final stop of the afternoon. It'll be interesting to see where we emerge. It's going to be another set of soft tyres for ourselves. So we pitted on lap 3 and we got to the end of lap 18. So 15 laps on those tyres and 16 laps on this set of soft tyres. But we emerge in P12. We are still behind Kevin Magnussen. So haven't really gained anything staying out those extra few laps. But the plus side is that we have a faster car and we're on the soft tyres compared to the mediums of Magnussen and all the one-stoppers ahead. So this is going to be an interesting final 15 laps of the Grand Prix. We've got a lot of places to make up, a lot of overtaking to be done. But I'd very much back us in this this car, which is just feeling absolutely in the groove in this Grand Prix. So we go on to lap 20 now, just one lap after we've pitted, and we are right on the tail of Kevin Magnussen. Then we've got a three-way battle for P8 up ahead, I believe. And anyway, we'll get to that in a minute, but at the moment we're just trying to focus on overtaking Kevin Magnussen. And these upgrades that we've got have just been brilliant. It's pretty much put us on par with the Ferrari engine in the back of that Haas car now. And with DRS, it's no match. Absolutely no match for us. So we move up in to P11, and now we can have a look at this four-way battle it is extended to. So I can't quite see who's at the head of it. It might be Lando Norris. But anyway, we've got Romain Grosjean, Carlos Sainz, and I believe Sergio Perez ahead of that. Either way, we've got a lot of overtaking to do in this Grand Prix. But we close up to Romain Grosjean, and surely we're going to stick one down the inside of him. Yes, we do. And actually, no, it's Max Verstappen who is heading this train. The man who started in P15, but will be on a two-stop strategy, seeing as he actually qualified in the top 10. As we actually see Sergio Perez peel into the pit lane. So that's a disappointment. I was looking forward to battling with Perez. But of course I forgot that he is also on the two-stop strategy, having qualified in the top 10. But now Carlos Sainz goes defensive into turn 2. It's absolutely non-stop action in this Grand Prix. And now we go side by side with the McLaren driver. And we don't quite manage to get ahead of him for the meantime. But we're going to stick behind him, get the DRS. And what a power difference, considering that at the start of the season we had exactly the same power units. Our Renault engine has, you could probably say it's a bit superior to that McLaren, but, you know, I'll be modest and say that it's just a little bit better. Anyway, we're up into P5. That is changed very quickly. There's a lot of cars ahead of us which pitted. And Max Verstappen actually comes into the pit lane on lap 21. So, a few laps ago, it looked as if, you know, it was going to be difficult to be scoring big points. But all of a sudden, we overtake a couple of cars, we get a few cars in the pit lane, and we're back where we were before, in P4. So, we've still got Leclerc, Hamilton, and Vettel ahead of us. So, it looks as if on the mini-map, it's Lewis Hamilton leading the Grand Prix at the moment. But that is just going to ebb and flow, you'd imagine, for the rest of the Grand Prix. As we go purple through the first sector, so really in the groove with this track at the moment. But as we go on to lap 24, you can see at turn 1 there is a stricken Williams, which means that the safety car has been deployed. It's George Russell out of this Grand Prix. Disappointing for the young Brit, but that has really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons. It's going to be an exciting end to this Grand Prix now. We're all going to be bunched up for the final 10 laps, but you can see this is what triggered it. So George Russell coming through the stadium section, and his engine, it just goes. Unfortunate for him, but he wasn't having a great race. The Williams car's well off the pace this weekend, and he pulled over to the side to end his German Grand Prix, and it looks as if he was actually struggling to find somewhere to stop, which is evidently why a safety car has been deployed, because yeah, he stopped it in quite a dangerous position there, just on the inside of turn 1. But now we're all behind the safety car. We're all bunched up, and it's lining up to be a good last few laps of this Grand Prix. So we've still got Lewis Hamilton in the lead, as you can see. Whether that stays until the end, you don't know. Obviously, we've now got Charles Leclerc in on the action. But the man in P2 is still Sebastian Vettel. He's ahead of his young Monegasque teammate. But still, looks as if it's going to be 2 podium positions for the Ferrari guys if it stays as it is. And then in P4, we've got ourselves. So maybe we can get ahead of one of the Ferraris. We'll have to see what our pace is looking like. And then behind ourselves is Romain Grosjean on the medium tyres. And then we've got Sainz, Magnussen, and then Gasly. So we've got a few cars between ourselves and Gasly, and then Valtteri Bottas. He's had a really strange second half to the Grand Prix. Very slow, just like he was in Britain for a stage of the Grand Prix. So that's interesting, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we can put a little bit of a buffer between ourselves and the other fast cars behind us. as we go to the safety car restart. So I'm banking on Grosjean, the likes of Grosjean, Magnussen and Sainz to really hold those lot up, but we are very much going to be looking ahead of ourselves at this restart as we now prepare to resume racing at the German Grand Prix, come through the final corner, and already you can see how fast and how quickly the Ferraris have got their tyres up to temperature. So Leclerc really putting a gap between himself and us on the start of lap 27. So we've got 8 laps left in this Grand Prix, and we go a little bit wide into turn 2. Our tyres not yet up to temperature. It's very overcast overhead, meaning that it was very difficult to get any sort of temperature into our tyres at the restart. But there you can see up ahead, it's going to be a 3-way battle to the end. We're just going to try and cling on to them for as long as possible as we now go through the hairpin. No challenge from behind from Romain Grosjean, which is very good, because we don't want to be looking behind us. We just want to be looking ahead at the slight chance that we might be able to get ahead of one of those Ferrari cars. But now, as we go through the end of the middle sector, let's have a look what the gap is between ourselves and Leclerc. It's already over a second. And as we go now, skip a few laps onto lap 30, that was up to 4 seconds. Although Pierre Gasly had managed to get ahead of the cars that were ahead of him. And he is 5 seconds behind us. So look at the mini-map. We are just literally we're in the deadest position currently. We've got no one around us. So I thought, you know what, this is a good time to just do a little bit of engine preservation until the end of the Grand Prix. But there was none of that going on up ahead. You can see Sebastian Vettel ahead of his teammate still, Charles Leclerc, and he was closing in on Lewis Hamilton here on lap 34, and it looks as if he's managed to get ahead with just over 1 lap left in the German Grand Prix. The homeboy Sebastian Vettel moves up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Their line astern are the top 3 as we go into the final lap and a half. And it is Sebastian Vettel who goes past the Mercedes grandstand in the lead of the Grand Prix. And now we go on to the final lap to see what's happening. And it's going to be Hamilton with the DRS, which is so powerful around this circuit, and has the Brit timed it to perfection. It looks as if he has. And he goes down the inside of Vettel. Is he going to be able to do anything about it? No, he isn't. The Ferrari man can do nothing. And as they sweep towards the Mercedes grandstand for the final time, it is a Mercedes driver, Lewis Hamilton, who is leading. My voice is nearly gone at this stage, but what a Grand Prix it's been, and we've seen an overtake for the lead on the final lap. The top 3 are separated by little over a second, you'd imagine, but as they go through the final few corners, it's going to be a Mercedes win on their home turf, and Hamilton comes through the final couple of corners. What a race it's been up at the front, and he comes through to win the Grand Prix. It's been a difficult season for Hamilton so far, but will that instigate his championship charge? We'll have to see when we look at the standings later on. But as we now come through the final few corners, Valtteri Bottas, interestingly, managed to get ahead of Pierre Gasly, and he's closed the gap to us, but that's not really relevant because, like I say, we've been doing a lot of engine conservation in the past few laps. We've been doing a lot of short shifting and just making sure that the car can get home for future races. But P4, that's brilliant. I very much felt like we had the pace to get that on merit, unlike in Silverstone. So big progression for us, big progression for that man Lewis Hamilton, who takes his first race victory in a while, and very much outsmarts the Ferraris, getting that DRS, of course, for the final lap of the Grand Prix. And he'll take home 25 points, with his teammates taking home 10, so that's 35 for Mercedes and 33 points for the Scuderia. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle towards the end of the season. We'll have a look what the constructor standings are looking like in a minute. But there are your full race results. Hamilton ahead of Vettel and Leclerc, with ourselves in P4. Disappointing race for Bottas, who put in a lap which wasn't anywhere near his teammate, really. 0.3 of a second off in terms of pace. And our teammate, Daniel Ricciardo, it looked so promising for him, but he could only manage P10. Very much got displaced by Magnussen and Sainz on the one-stop strategy. Grosjean must have had problems after the safety car restart, because he's all the way down in P17. 2 DNFs, and they're both the Williams cars. What a terrible weekend for them. 19th and 20th. Norris also. Must have been bad luck for him because he was down in 18th. And now we take a look at the driver's standings where we stay in P6, would you believe it? With Verstappen and the 2 Ferraris and Mercedes being the only drivers ahead of us. But as we look at the right at the top, there's 1 point separating Bottas and Vettel, with Hamilton very much coming back into it now, just 7 points behind, and Mercedes leading the way by 17 points, with ourselves, Renault, sat in a comfortable P4, pretty much in no man's land. But we'll look to close up to Red Bull in the following few races. But guys, what a Grand Prix that was. I very much enjoyed that German Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys did too. Let me know what you thought down below. And make sure to join me next time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'd imagine that will be up on Monday. But enjoy your weekend, guys, if you're watching it on Friday. And I'll catch you then. Take care. Bye-bye.